I know that by the time you're watching this, it's probably like middle of January, but Happy New Year! Before I dive into today's video, I just want to say thank you so much for all of your support in 2021, for all of the likes on the videos, all of the lovely comments that I really enjoy reading, and of course for subscribing to the channel. I looked at the numbers and in January 2021, I had 16 subscribers and now there is almost 5,000 of you, which I still can't believe. So again, thank you so much. And let's see if we can get to 10,000 subscribers by June. And that's my 2022 goal for the channel. And I have tons of great content and project prepared for you for 2022. So tag along for the ride. And now let's dive into the video. Some time ago, I've gotten a comment from one of you, I'm posting it here, that was asking me to talk through how do I prepare for my projects, including choosing the cord and the colors and drawing, measuring, etc., all of that. So I thought that was actually a really good idea, and here I am doing that exact video. So I'll walk you through the 5 stages of how do I prepare for and do a macrame project. I hope that this can serve as an inspiration, whether you've already done macrame projects before or you just don't know where to start. And stay till the end, because at the very end, I talk about not so much a specific stage, but a very, very important part of the entire process. And if you are going to like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really, really helps the channel to grow. So let's get into it. For me, stage number 1, or phase number 1, is inspiration. And I get my inspiration from so many different channels and from so many different places. My inspiration can start with seeing a new color that Bobine, the cords I always use, came out with, which they do pretty often. It can be from seeing a new pattern. So I'm very often looking at what other artists are making on Pinterest, on YouTube as well. So something catches my eye there. Another great source of inspiration for me is my desire to try new things. So in the past, I, for example, really wanted to paint the piece of driftwood that I was hanging the macrame wall hanging on. So that was kind of my starting point, and then thinking, okay, what could go well with that? I know in the future, for example, I want to try tie-dyes on my cord, so that would definitely be one of the projects I want to try as well. So again, thinking around that, okay, what would look good and what colors, etc. I can of course start with thinking of the type of a project I want to do. Like I might be thinking, I haven't done a chandelier in a while, I really want to do that, and only then I start thinking about the pattern and the cords, etc. It can be any other materials as well, not just cords. Like maybe I want to use certain beads or a piece of driftwood or something like that, or another material. Like I've used feathers in the past and leather as well. That could be the spark of my new project. Or it could also be your suggestion, which is actually the example I'm going to use in this video, because in one of my past videos, my macrame collection, you guys said you would really like me to do a large scale piece like I have in my bedroom. So that will be one of my next videos. So for the purpose of today's video, I know I want to prepare for that large scale piece. So I already know what is the type of a project. So it'll be a large scale macrame wall hanging that I want to make. So once I know more or less what I'm making, what will the pattern be, how big is it going to be, the scale of the project, I can start putting together my list of supplies. And so first, I'm thinking about the cords. So I need to decide on, of course, the type of the cord that I want and the color. So the type of the cord, that really depends, again, on the pattern I'm thinking and also how I want to finish the piece. Like, do I want there to be fringe, or do I want something that's maybe the more geometric kind of a piece? That really then factors in when I'm choosing the type of cord. And of course, I need to know more or less how much of the cord do I need. And I've already done a video on measuring how much cord you need, so I'll link that up there. But I have to say, like, I usually don't measure exactly how much I will need, especially if I'm preparing for something like this large scale boho piece. It's impossible because even right now, even though I have an idea in my head, I don't know exactly which patterns and which places I'm going to make. So I need to estimate the amount of cord that I will need. But I'm lucky in a sense that I've done a lot of pieces already, so I know more or less. Like, for example, the one I'm taking inspiration from, the one in the bedroom, I know how much cord I've used to make that one. So I'll just take that as my estimate, so I know I'll need more or less maybe 200 meters of cord. So that's how much cord I will order. And then of course I need to get my piece of driftwood or maybe a ring or whatever I need to hang the macrame on. And then any other accessories, beads or maybe paint if I am painting my piece of driftwood, or maybe my cords or the beads or something else. Or anything else, you know, feather or the leather like I mentioned before. Anything like that. I want to make sure that I have everything ordered. And I mean, I also have to because I'm showing you guys in the beginning of every video what my supplies are. So I kind of have to get them before I get started. For the third phase, that one actually sometimes comes before the second one, before I order all of the cords and the supplies, and that's to sketch the piece. Now, I don't always make a sketch, but I do make it when it is a larger piece where I am not 100% sure. Like I just have this feeling like I need to get the idea from my head on a piece of paper before I get started. I don't know how else to describe that, but that's just how I feel. Now those sketches, I will show you one again for this large boho piece that I'm making. They are very, how to say, abstract, maybe. Like, I don't know if you can really tell by looking at the sketch what are the types of knots I'm thinking. I mean, I know in my head, like when I'm making certain images, what is that type of knot that I'm thinking for that part. But it's, I can definitely see how somebody else looking at it would not be able to tell at all what is this sketch trying to show. And why I said I sometimes do the sketch before step 2 is because it can help me estimate the amount of cord. It can also help me estimate how do I place all of the cords on my piece of driftwood or on the dowel, because I can measure more or less or make some estimates on how much space the cords are going to take. I've also gotten these really cool Inktense pencils last Christmas, which I thought I was going to use them to make these sketches to see, for example, how certain color combinations would work together, but I haven't really gotten to it. So maybe that's something that I will start making in 2022. So I was about to start on that sketch, but when I opened my sketchbook, I saw this. I completely forgot that I made this sketch of one of my earlier pieces, which you can see on this channel already, putting the link up there. And it's actually not half bad. And I also used a little bit of the pencils, and maybe it's not as abstract as I think. You tell me. So compare the sketch to the actual thing and let me know if the knots in the sketch are actually recognizable for you. And also let me know in the comments if you make sketches. I would really love to know. All right, stage 4, I prep my supplies. Whether that is preparing the piece of driftwood, which sometimes might have some bark left on it or some, branches sticking out that I want to get rid of. So I do all of that obviously before I start hanging any pieces on it. I am actually also planning to do a separate video on just how do I prepare my driftwood. Let me know down in the comments if that's something that sounds interesting to you. And then I do any other, like painting the beads, for example, which I've done many times, or any other preparation work that needs to happen with my supplies before I actually start. And stage 5, as you guys have probably guessed it, is doing the macrame piece itself. Now that, to me, as I think to you as well, is the most enjoyable part, of course. And it always takes me usually a little bit of time to get everything done. Like, you might think, when you see a video that has 20 or 30 minutes, that it took me a day or two to finish it. But usually I have that rack and I keep working on the piece for a couple of days, if not weeks, in here. So it's not that quick usually. So those are all the 5 stages of how I prepare and do my macrame project. And in the beginning, I mentioned that there is a very important aspect to all of this, and that is me changing my mind constantly. I literally do this all the time throughout the entire process. And it can be for multiple reasons. It can be that I ordered the supplies and they turned out a little bit different than I was expecting. Or, for example, with this large wall hanging that I'm preparing, I really wanted to add some beads at the top. But as I was looking through the different beads, I kept evolving and changing the final idea or the idea of how it's going to look like. That can be also, for example, because the beads that I'm finding, they only have smaller holes. So I need to think about that as well. Like, where in the project can I place them? Where are they going to fit? So all of those things have influence over the very early stages of the project. And then a lot of that changing my mind happens in that last stage when I'm actually doing the project, because it may not be turning out exactly how I imagined it, so I don't like the end result, or it's just very difficult to do, like it doesn't stick. I had that happen, for example, with my macrame Christmas tree, that I thought I was gonna go one way and do one type of a knot, but it was really difficult and it didn't look good, so I had to change then and do a different one. And that really happens, I don't want to say all the time, not every single project, but it does happen pretty often. And I don't always leave it in my videos, because then they would just be hours long sometimes. So you don't always get to see that, but just know that that is definitely happening. And one last kind of circumstance that makes me change my mind, and that's simply because of I'm doing this for YouTube, is I'm running out of time. So I have a certain schedule that I want to post in, and because I just don't have enough time to, take the time to do the project as I first thought of it, I have to speed it up somehow, or the supplies have ran out and I don't have time to order new ones. So I have to change my approach a little bit. And why I really want to talk about this and mention this, changing of the process, is because I think you sometimes might get the feeling when you see my videos that it's perfect from, A to Z or whatever, but it's really not. It is a changing process, and many of my pieces have not turned out the way I envisioned them. Like it was still fun to make them, but maybe going in, I had a bit of a different idea, and then I had to change throughout. So just know that when you're going through the same things, this is normal, I think. And it also really happens, especially earlier. Like when I was starting, it would happen more often because I just haven't had enough experiences. So I thought if I did things a certain way, it will work. Well, now I've learned a lot of lessons, and I know that some things just don't look good, or they just don't work that way. So I'll say again, one thing that I've mentioned before, macrame definitely requires patience. And you have to have lots of it for exactly this reason, that sometimes things are just not going to work out, or you will have to undo a certain portion of your project. So just Be patient with yourselves and you will get there over time. And that's everything I had to say for today's video. I hope you guys found it interesting and helpful. If you did, give it a like, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.